Today is Thursday, May 30th. What to know about the final stage in a historic criminal trial, and what could happen once a jury reaches a verdict. Also, why researchers say girls are going through puberty younger than ever. Plus, how to check your computer for a specific malware impacting millions of people. Which professional athlete was just let off the hook from criminal charges. And Panda diplomacy, which zoo is the latest to announce it'll be welcoming the iconic bears soon. Those stories and even more news to know today, next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. It is now up to 12 jurors to decide whether to make former President Trump a convicted felon or a vindicated man. They're weighing 6 weeks of testimony from 22 witnesses to decide whether Trump was part of a scheme to falsify business records to cover up a hush money payment. Before deliberations began yesterday, the judge laid out specific legal instructions. He reminded the jurors to be unbiased and that even though Trump is the former president, he should be considered their peer. So far, the jury has deliberated for about 4.5 hours. During the deliberations, the former president repeated his belief that it's an unfair trial, saying, quote, Mother Teresa could not beat those charges. The jury could reach a verdict as soon as today, or it could take several more weeks, if they reach a verdict at all. If he is found guilty, Trump could face anywhere from probation to 4 years in prison. Though even if that does happen, he's expected to appeal, and that process could take years. No matter what, Trump would still be able to be elected president. A U.S. Supreme Court justice is responding to some growing controversy over flags at his homes. Democratic lawmakers say Justice Samuel Alito needs to recuse himself from cases involving former President Trump and defendants from the January 6th Capitol attack. And that's because in the days after the attack, an upside-down American flag was seen outside one of his homes, which was a symbol of the Stop the Steal movement. And at his vacation home, another flag flew as recently as last year that read, Appeal to Heaven. That's also associated with an effort to overthrow the 2020 election results. Well, Alito has now responded, saying he won't be recusing himself from any cases because in both instances, his wife hung the flags. And he says she's allowed as a way to exercise her right to free speech. This is similar to controversy another Supreme Court justice faced recently. Justice Clarence Thomas was asked to recuse himself too because his wife was involved in efforts to overturn the election results. Thomas also denied the request. So with that, both justices are set to weigh in on cases that could impact the 2024 presidential election and more, along with the rest of the High Court. Rulings are expected by the end of next month. Louisiana is set to become the first state to force all public schools to showcase religious text on campuses. Lawmakers passed a bill requiring the 10 Commandments be displayed in all schools and colleges that receive public funding. Specifically, the text would have to be clearly visible in every classroom on a poster or framed document that's at least 11 inches by 14 inches. Supporters have said the requirement would place a moral code in education. But civil rights organizations are already planning to fight the measure in court, saying it goes against students' First Amendment right to religious freedom. Governor Jeff Landry still does need to sign the new bill into law before it becomes official, but he is expected to do so soon. There's a growing concern that girls in the U.S. are starting to get their periods much sooner and more irregularly than they did in past generations. The American Medical Association published a study yesterday that found younger generations are getting their first period before they turn 12, and it takes longer than it used to for periods to become regular. The trends are even more pronounced for girls of color and children living in lower socioeconomic status. In fact, some Black girls are starting to see the onset of puberty as young as 5 years old. And it is concerning because early puberty and irregular periods have been linked to not only reproductive issues, but also heart diseases and cancer, depression and anxiety, and more. So what's behind all of this? Well, researchers offered a few explanations. For starters, childhood obesity can be a risk factor for early puberty, along with a poor diet. Other concerns are so-called forever chemicals, heavy metals, and air pollutants that are common in our environment. And then a child's experiences can also have an impact. Some studies have shown very early puberty rose during the pandemic, possibly because of the stress and disruption it had on the lives of young children. More research is still needed. But for now, experts say it's important for girls to be educated about menstrual health early and have individualized healthcare plans. The nation's capital is celebrating the upcoming arrival of some very popular residents. 2 giant pandas from China are set to arrive at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. later this year. Bao Li and Qing Bao were both born at the China Conservation and Research Center for the giant panda. Now they're 2 years old and getting ready for their big American debut. This means people will be able to visit them in person for free or watch them on the Panda Cam, which will relaunch when the new bears arrive. The new loan will be in effect for the next 10 years. Remember, other giant pandas who lived in D.C. returned home last year as the last panda loan agreement expired. But now pandas are coming back, not just to D.C., but also to San Diego and San Francisco as part of a breeding and research agreement with China. China's ambassador to the U.S. says this is all a very good sign for U.S.-China relations in what's often referred to as panda diplomacy. We have much more news for you still ahead, but first, thanks to our sponsor, SKIMS. If you're like me, then having a great-fitting, high-quality t-shirt is a must-have summer staple. And I found the perfect t-shirts from SKIMS. And look, finding the perfect tee is not easy. Does it fit right? Does it just fall apart the first time you wash it? Well, you don't have to worry because SKIMS makes the best basics. I have 2 SKIMS tees so far, and I'm constantly wearing both of them. The cotton jersey t-shirt in the color marble and the Fits Everybody tee in onyx. Both have this great fitting, soft, stretchy material that makes it so easy to dress up or dress down. So I can wear these tees with joggers for a quick errand or working from home, or throw them on with some jeans and a blazer for a night out. They are so versatile. Plus, I love wearing them because not only do they look great, they feel great. They're super soft and comfortable. Shop the SKIMS T-Shirt Shop at skims.com. Now available in sizes extra, extra small to 4X. And if you haven't yet, be sure to let them know that I sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select my show, The Newsworthy, in the drop-down menu that follows. Okay, now back to the news. Beach homes along North Carolina's Outer Banks just aren't what they used to be. In fact, some aren't anything anymore. This week, another home crumbled into the Atlantic Ocean. It was the 6th to fall in recent years, and the National Park Service expects many more to follow because of erosion and rising seas. Thankfully, no one had been living in the house that was washed out to sea this week, but it's still an unsettling reminder of what's happening to East Coast beaches. The thing is, seas in the area have risen by more than 4.5 inches just since 2010. Homeowners have moved their houses further inland, but in many cases, it's not a long-term solution and may only be buying them some time. Other owners have sold their homes to the National Park Service, which tore them down and turned the area into a public beach. And then there are some who are still debating what to do next. Add this to the long list of mega deals happening in the oil and gas industry. ConocoPhillips agreed to buy Marathon Oil for $22.5 billion. The deal is expected to close by the end of the year. Of course, this is just the latest acquisition like it to be announced recently. As energy prices have gone up and big oil companies have reaped massive profits, they seem to be interested in putting the cash toward growing their inventory. Just this week, Hess Corporation shareholders voted to approve a $53 billion buyout from Chevron. In the past year, Exxon also announced a $60 billion takeover of Pioneer Natural Resources. And Occidental Petroleum agreed to buy U.S. shale oil producer Crown Rock in a $12 billion deal. Even more oil and gas mergers are expected, though analysts believe the next ones will likely be smaller. The FBI says it's taken out the world's largest botnet. It was apparently an army of 19 million infected computers that's been leased to hackers for cybercrimes over the past decade. Botnets are created when cybercriminals install malware on computers, then sell access to the computer's IP addresses. In this case, the feds say victims were infected without even knowing it, through their residential Windows computers. So, by the way, if you have a Mac, you were not impacted this time. Then the botnet was used for financial fraud, identity theft, and access to child exploitation materials all around the world. Law enforcement seized internet equipment and assets like expensive goods, watches, and cryptocurrency. And the man they say was the administrator of the botnet was arrested. If you want to check if your device was compromised in this, the FBI set up a website for you to check. And if it turns out you have been impacted, it will lead you through what to do next. We added a link to it in today's episode notes. So remember we told you how the world's #1 golfer got arrested outside the PGA Championship? Well, all of the charges have now been dropped against him. A Kentucky prosecutor said the same thing that Scottie Scheffler said about his arrest, that it all amounted to a big misunderstanding. When they first took him into custody, police say Scheffler didn't listen to officers' commands, and that Scheffler's vehicle ended up dragging a detective who tried to stop his car at the scene of a deadly crash. But the golfer says he just did not understand what they were asking him to do. Now, Scheffler says he doesn't hold any ill will toward the officer, that he wants to put the incident behind him and move on, and he hopes the officer will do the same. One of the most iconic homes in movie history is now up for sale. We're talking about the one made famous by the Christmas classic, Home Alone. The 5-bedroom, 6-bathroom house is more than 9,000 square feet, just a short distance from Lake Michigan in Winnetka, Illinois. It was first built in 1921, but was fully renovated and expanded in 2018. A lot of it will still be recognizable to Home Alone superfans, though. The outside of the home still looks the same, as does the foyer and main staircase, where 8-year-old Kevin McAllister goes sledding. And if the movie is any indication, the windows will make for good Christmas displays. The home is going for $5.25 million. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, I want to take a moment to talk about our sponsor, Lumi. Unlike certain other deodorants, Lumi Whole Body Deodorant is powered by mandelic acid to deliver impressive 72-hour odor control everywhere from your pits to your feet. And now, 6 years after a doctor created Lumi, this game-changing whole body deo has earned over 300,000 5-star reviews from people like me. When other deodorants just were not working anymore, I wasn't sure what to do. But now that I found Lumi, I am using it every day, and I will continue to do so, whether they're a sponsor or not, because I've found it actually works. Plus, you can choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, or toasted coconut. I personally like clean tangerine the best. But try a bunch with Lumi Starter Pack. It is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. So use code NEWSWORTHY for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code NEWSWORTHY at Lumi, L-U-M-E, deodorant, DEODORANT.com. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. Cars, trucks, and SUVs on American roads keep getting older. S&P Global Mobility tracks state vehicle registration data around the country, and it says this year, American vehicles have hit a record average age of 12 and a half years old. It's believed people are waiting longer to buy new since the new cars, trucks, and SUVs cost so much. The average new vehicle selling price is now just over $45,000 in the U.S. That's actually $2,000 less than the peak back in 2022, but it's still too high for a lot of households. Analysts say other people might be holding off on buying new cars now because they want to wait to see if they want an electric vehicle soon. One common concern with EVs is that the charging network isn't built up enough, so they'd rather hold off until it is. And it's also worth noting, vehicles are made better these days and are simply lasting a long time. All right, thank you so much for listening today and making us part of your daily routine. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.